Well, another Christmas in the books.
Oh, it goes by fast.
And it's so amazing. You work toward it and you work toward it and you're building up and you're buying your shopping and then it's Christmas and then it's gone.
It reminds me of a big race car or something. And you hear it coming and then it just whizzes on past.
Zoom. And as always the case, there's some presents sitting there where the tree used to be.
Exactly. There's always like one or two people that we've got to still deliver to.
Now, last week we talked about the incredible run-up to making and putting up Christmas lights. It went on for months.
Yes.
Putting up Christmas lights on the model railroad turned out to be as much trouble, if not more trouble, than putting up lights on the house.
Yes, the only thing, you're not up on a ladder.
Yeah, it's safer, I'll give it that, but you have to make the lights and figure out how to hang them and the danger that squirrels might eat them. There are things that don't necessarily come into play when you're hanging up real Christmas lights.
Exactly.
And I have to confess something. The lights are still up.
Well, and they probably will be up for a little while.
Well, I have an ulterior motive, too. I'm still hoping that we'll get that mysterious white Christmas storm, and I can come out here and shoot video and take pictures for next Christmas.
That's why they started calling them holiday lights, because there's a light for every occasion. Valentine's is coming up.
And we're not alone.
No.
I bet 90% of our neighbors not only still have their lights up, they're still turning them on.
Well, and I've seen people put up lights for Valentine's and other holidays. I think it's cool.
I think they're waiting for the Super Bowl or something.
That could be that too.
And there's a couple of things that we didn't talk about last week in terms of what we built to go out there. And a lot of what we didn't cover last week is the stuff that you built.
Oh, yes.
So the number one thing is flashing in the background back there, your Christmas tree.
Oh, yes. I decorated early with that one. It was a lot easier than the full-sized one.
And every good town square should have a town square Christmas tree.
Absolutely.
So Grapevine Village got itself a Christmas tree.
Yes.
And Santa Claus can't very well come to town if there is no Santa Claus to come to town.
Oh, so you have to have a Santa Claus.
And I was looking all over the place for a proper figure, and for some strange reason, people don't put those things up on eBay until just before Christmas.
I guess they want to do a last-minute thing.
Yeah, something like. So anyway, I got this last minute and had to paint him very quickly. So we didn't talk about that last week either. So let's talk about Santa Claus. And then there's your train station garland.
Oh, yes, there's a story behind that one.
Yeah. Well, let's come back to that. Let's first start off by looking at how you built the Christmas tree. So it turned out great, but every good project has a beginning.
Oh, and that one was a ponderous beginning.
And so we shopped around for a good basic tree for you to decorate.
Right.
And this is what we found.
Right, it was at Michael's, and unfortunately it already had lights on it.
A nice animated effect here.
Right.
An absolutely incredible jumping off point for you to go to work on.
Oh, exactly. We bought some little tiny ornaments at Michael's, and I just went at it with my imagination. Unlike decorating a real huge Christmas tree, I used my sturdy glue gun for this purpose because those balls have to stay on there all the time and for next year too. So I took to gluing these little red, they're just beads like you'd make a necklace out of, onto the tree. We chose red because it was a nice festive color.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be squirrel proof because we're only going to put the tree out there when we're using it.
Exactly. We won't have it out there too long.
So it'll only go outside for short periods and then it can come back inside and reside here on the workbench, and then we'll put it away for the year when we're done with it.
Exactly. We were lucky enough to find a little tiny garland, so I also used my glue gun and glued that on. Hopefully it doesn't look like there's spider webs in the tree, but we can get those off pretty easy.
It sort of reminds me when we used to put fiberglass on our trees.
Yeah, angel hair.
Oh, back in the 60s. That was so horrible. I'm glad that went away.
Well, it's almost finished. I still have a little bit of anchoring down to do, but I think it needs a tree skirt.
And we need to find some way to hide the little battery pack there.
Exactly. That has to sit some way so you can't see it.
I thought we could park a car in front of it, but I think you have a better idea.
Oh, yeah. And of course, I was having so much fun, I just couldn't resist putting a snowflake or two on the tree. Now, to find a tree skirt that fits a tree that small, it's almost next to impossible. So I had some felt, and I just cut out a couple of circles and glued those together with the glue gun and some tinsel and made the tree skirt. But then we had to figure out presents, and we had presents bought for this purpose, and they came up missing. We couldn't find them. They were like little tree decorations. And so we had some wooden cubes in the drawer, and I fashioned my own presents. And of course, while digging out cubes, I had to get in the pom-pom drawer, find a couple of white pom-poms, and make us a snowman while we're at it. Have to have a snowman.
And I'm just blown away at how those presents turned out.
Right, they're just painted. I just painted the cubes. I didn't use wrapping paper or anything. I just painted them.
I mean, it's sort of hard to tell in the pictures, but they're just tiny.
Yeah, they're not very big, like a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch.
And all the paper, ornamentation, everything here is just painted on.
Oh, I had fun. Well, and then I ran totally amok because I've got all this pipe cleaner and such, and I wanted to recreate these like ornaments that were popular in candy boxes like in the 50s and 60s. I always loved them, and my mom never would let me have one, and so she'd hand me pipe cleaner and go, make it yourself, and so that's how I learned how to do this.
I love the locomotive.
That is just a bead, and I just decorated it up a little bit with more bead caps and a little box for the tender. It has to have a tender.
All locomotives should have a tender.
Yes. Yeah, sometimes when you have a whole yard full of pine cones, rather than get rid of all of them, they do make really neat ornaments.
We had a lot of cool stuff on our Christmas tree.
Yes, every year I make 2 or 3 ornaments for that year.
But that is one spectacular Christmas tree.
Oh, it makes me all excited for Christmas, all of the tinsel and glitter. Now, it's not Christmas until you have Christmas garlands everywhere. And I don't know how many of our viewers out there are familiar when they used to stretch these little pine boughs and garlands across the main streets in town, and they'd be all sparkly and everything. Well, when I was about 3 or 4 years old, I decided I wanted one. And I about drove my poor parents crazy. Every time we go somewhere, I want one of those. And my dad would just, like trying to give your kid the impossible. And we went out to eat supper one night, and I told my dad, I says, well, he's at a restaurant, a drive-in restaurant, and they ordered a steak sandwich. And I said, I know they have those little garlands in there. Will you get one for me? And my dad's just looking at me funny, like you would a 3 or 4-year-old that's got an unusual request. And he's like, they don't have anything like that in there, but I was just certain they did. I'd seen them before. So he went in to get the order and came out with their steak sandwiches, and I'm like, did you get my Christmas garland, and did you get it? And he's like, no, they don't sell stuff like that in there. And I pointed at my mom's sandwich, and I said, see, they've got one on her sandwich, but it was a toothpick with one of those little fluffy things. And I still decided I wanted a garland. For years I wanted one, and I don't know what I thought I was going to do with it. But it wasn't until I was in like junior high and the town was putting up Christmas ornaments did I see how really huge, big those things are in real life. I mean, they're like the size of a car. And I just felt kind of stupid what I put my parents through. But again, just with the pipe cleaners and tinsel and following my mom's directive, if you can't have it, then make it. And so I learned how to make a garland after my own fashion. I can have them if I want, I could wear it for a necklace if I wanted to. But it was just so silly how big they really are, and I didn't realize that.
Well, they're not big anymore because now they're on the Garden Railroad.
Yes, they're miniaturized. Aren't you glad you know that I know how to do that now?
So this thing is 5 feet tall, but it's 5 feet tall on a 20th scale railroad.
So it's, in other words, it's the size of a pipe cleaner.
And now Santa Claus. Again, I was looking everywhere for a Santa Claus, and there's all kinds of Santa Claus figures out there. that were available in the craft stores and stuff, but they don't look like railroad figures. They just look like Christmas ornaments.
Right.
So I got on eBay, and finally, just a couple of weeks before Christmas, all of a sudden there were actual Santa Clauses for sale. And I picked this one up off of eBay. It's a 3D print. And I thought, man, this is a great-looking Santa Claus.
He is a great-looking Santa.
He came unpainted, so the first thing I did is just shot him with red paint and then started coming back in over that with water-based acrylics and started adding in all the other details.
Right.
This is a technique I've used a million times in the past to start off with an acrylic lacquer so that I don't have to worry about that paint coming loose, and then as I add the water-based acrylics over the top of that, I don't need to worry about the underlying color bleeding up through my red or whatever.
Right, that works.
And then I did the usual technique of dry brushing, especially for Santa's bag here. There was a lot of debate online what color Santa Claus's sack is supposed to be.
Oh man, I've seen it all kinds of colors.
It's some people said black, some people said red, and I fell in love with the ones that were leather. So I decided to go for a leather finish, well, for one thing, I like painting leather. I put down a dark brown base and then just dry brush over the top of that with lighter and darker colors, and you can start bringing out that kind of leather texture.
Wow.
And I thought, man, that looks great. And so I thought, I want to protect this as I go in with more colors, and so a trick that I have used is to go ahead and put a coat of clear lacquer. It dries flat, but I came in with some Tester's Dull Coat.
Oh.
It helps protect the figure while I'm handling it, but then I can add other colors over the top of that without cutting into the underlying color, because the dull coat protects it.
Right.
And this is an idea I got from you. You have these pens.
Right, I ordered them on Amazon.
And they have the best metallic finishes.
Right, most of these older pens are just, they kind of look gold, or they kind of look silver gray. Now these actually look like carat gold or sterling silver when you paint something with them.
And they have sort of a felt tip, like a felt tip marker.
Right.
Which actually turns out to be pretty easy to control. And so I went in and very carefully painted Santa's belt buckle here.
Right. Well, that turned out great.
And in this case, I was glad I had the clear coat down already, because I found if you put clear coat over the top of these metallic finishes, it kind of spoils them.
They just go away for some reason. They just fade to nothing.
So in this case, clear coat first, then the metallic coat over the top of that.
Right.
And there's two items here that should not be dull coat, and that's the shoes and the belt.
Right.
So I came back in with clear gloss, high gloss, and painted the belt and the shoes over the top of all of that, and I had a finished figure.
Yes, he looks real good.
Now the person selling them on eBay, because they're a 3D print, will print them any size you want. But it should be a well-known fact that Santa Claus is a short little guy.
Yeah.
He's a jolly old elf.
That's right.
And he shouldn't be more than about 5 feet tall.
Uh-huh.
So he's 5 feet tall.
Well, there you go.
Now, some viewers may find the upcoming clip disturbing.
Oh, no.
It's always good to warn people about things like this, but I accidentally killed Santa Claus. I had him a little too close to the track.
Uh-oh.
Oh, and fortunately, he's quite durable.
Well, we ought to just advertise that for Operation Lifesaver, not ever standing too close to the tracks for that very reason.
A lesson I need to learn, too.
Yes.
I now make a habit of always staying back a minimum of 20 feet.
Well, and at least by doing it that way with figures, you can see what will happen, and it's all right. But in real life, maybe not.
Yeah, lesson learned with a little plastic figure, much better.
Yeah, so keep back away from the tracks.
Well, at any rate, Santa Claus has come to town.
Yes, and he is staying a respectable distance away from those tracks.
He learned his lesson the hard way.
Yes.
But I was very happy with the whole sequence, our whole little Christmas presentation that we put together.
Emphasis on present.
We always like a lot of Christmas presents.
Right.
And It's just, I'm so happy with the whole thing. It took months to put it together, but I'm just thrilled with it.
Oh, it's fun. We can add to it.
Well, I'm glad you stayed to the very end.
Right.
This must mean you liked what you saw, so do hit the like button. And while you're at it, if you're not a subscriber to the channel, please subscribe. And the easy peasy way to do that is by clicking on the upcoming subscribe button. Zoink! Right there, the subscribe button. Well, we're not sure how you found this video on the internet. We hope you didn't find it boring, and we will see you here on Tuesday.
Right.
We'll see ya.
We'll see ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.